Hey, welcome to the Grabbing the Brisket podcast. Hey, this is James. We appreciate you guys tuning in. This is a on-the-road edition of Grabbing the Brisket podcast. We are lucky and blessed and fortunate enough to be invited out to Mimsy's Craft Barbecue in Crockett, Texas.
Crockett, not Crawford.
Crawford. I was like, where the hell am I? Yeah, Crockett, Texas. Congratulations on the top 50 with the Texas Monthly Barbecue Joints.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and hey, welcome in our guest, our pitmaster, owner, operator, CEO of Mimsy's Craft Barbecue, Wade Elkins.
Thank you very much. Just a small part, small cog in the wheel. So.
Yeah. So how long? And I know we can look all this stuff up, but it's just better when you tell us. How long? You've got a background in barbecue and whatever else, but how long have you been operating Mimsy's Craft Barbecue?
We opened December 2020, a soft opening, December 18th, and we did a couple of weeks of soft opening, and right around mid-November was our official grand opening. 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, 2020.
Oh wow!
So just a little over a year.
So just your first year in, and you got recognized.
We got recognized. Yeah.
How does that feel?
It was a goal. It was a goal going in. Obviously, I'm not going to, lie about that. It was a goal going in, and it felt great. The first time that I got wind that we were going to be on the list, I pretty much cried, because it was all that hard work was, came to fruition, and it finally paid off. Right. And then, literally 2 seconds later, it melted away and turned into complete fear because now we have to live up to that hype.
You feel like you have to get it every single year now?
Well, felt like every single day that we're open, we have to live up to that top 50 list. And then you're right. When 4 years rolls around, we want to be number one.
Sure.
Right. So,
is that a blind type deal where they come to your restaurant and try your food, or is this something that that they're coming out? Do they give you a heads up?
So. On the initial visit, where when Daniel or Daniel Vaughn, when DV shows up, he's not gonna let you know, but we all pretty much know what he looks like, and so it's hard for him just to kind of slide into a barbecue restaurant, and nobody know who he is, and I'm sure he does it all the time, but it's probably 50-50 for him. But we know who he is as soon as he walks in the door, but there's no heads up. He actually came twice the day that he came to visit us. We were open for breakfast during that time. So he was headed somewhere else out in Trinity. And he was like, all right, I'm going to come here first for breakfast. And he's like, I'm coming back for lunch. So we actually did get a pseudo heads up that day that he was coming back for lunch. And so the rest of that morning was just like adrenaline rush.
Just grinding, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What is the temperature? Pull it. Glaze it. Let's go. Right? I can imagine.
Yeah. I guess that was your first good sign, is that he came for breakfast and decided he wanted to come back. It wasn't like he's like, nah, I'm good,
Yeah. So I don't know how many people can say that Daniel Vaughn's the restaurant twice in one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Doing something right.
Well, I would agree with you, and it's very smart that you said what you said earlier, is like, I was so happy, you were so happy that you're like, man, it almost made you cry or whatever else, right? And at the same time, the panic and it just sets in a little bit, and you're like, now we have to live up to this every single day, right? Because everybody's going to come in and go, top 50, well, it didn't taste like top 50, right?
Exactly.
And so you're like, no, I got to prove it every single day, right? You can prove the reason why you're on that list, and I love that. And that's what gets people from top 50 to top 10 to number one, right?
Right.
I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of people out there that spend 5 years, 6 years, 10 years open. They don't get on the list. So doing it your year and a little bit in business, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Right? If you really think about it. I know that you and your wife both have a background in culinary, cooking, and whatever else, but that's pretty freaking cool. It doesn't happen like that. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about the beginnings, because I'm sure a lot of people that are listening would probably like to know that. How did you get into the whole barbecue game?
So growing up as a kid, the dad barbecue pit in the backyard. Learned a lot from him. He was part of the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo cook-off in the 70s and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he kind of passed on that love of barbecue as a kid. And then around 2013, 2014, I started cooking again in my house for the family. Just watching YouTube videos and just teaching myself how to do some stuff, building off of what I remember from cooking with my dad. And around late 2016 to early 2017, I realized that I had a talent, cooking barbecue. So we did a competition. We didn't do too well in the competition, but we signed up for it. We did okay. We got a call in a couple of categories.
Yeah.
And at that point, we pretty much had all the equipment we needed to do like a catering or an event for something like that. So there was a charity golf tournament, and they were looking for somebody to cook barbecue. It was in my hometown, and I reached out to them. I said, "Hey, if y'all just provide the food, I'll cook the barbecue." And from that event, I got another job, which was like a fishing tournament in Port O'Connor for 300 people for 2 nights. It was like a $12,000 job. And she was like, "Hey, just send me a bid for this job." And I sent her the bid for $12,000, and she's like, "Okay, it's yours." And we were like, "Whoa,
are you serious?"
This is like our second event ever. We did one golf tournament now, and so that's sort of catapulted us into my catering concept, which was My Yard Reaction Barbecue, because I started cooking barbecue in my backyard. And if you're not familiar with My Yard Reaction is the scientist that discovered how flavors made. And his name was Dr. Maillard.
And that's like the combination, not combination, but that's the when the meat hits or not caramelizes. That's the wrong word, but when the meat starts browning.
Right. Well, it could be toast, it could be bread, it could be anything. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's when the amino acids are heated up to a certain point to where you get the browning effect, basically. And so that on a steak, that caramelized crust is a Maillard reaction. On a piece of toast, when you brown that's Maillard reaction. So that's what creates flavor. And so cooking, and that's spelled Maillard. So cooking and learning and researching and teaching myself about barbecue, I learned about the Maillard reaction. I was cooking barbecue in my backyard, so I was like, that's a perfect name. That's
Maillard.
A great pun. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome.
So we started Maillard Reaction Catering Company. In our first year, we got invited to the Houston Barbecue Throwdown, and we were doing festivals in our first year. We were doing catering events, and we carried that for about almost 2 years. Then went to work for Fiesta Barbecue. They opened up in Greenway Plaza in Houston. They were awarded top 25 best new barbecue joint right after, shortly after I was there. Spent a year there. Went to Reveille Barbecue in Magnolia, back to my hometown, which was a great opportunity, and was with them for about 2 years. And then that's when Mimsy's, the opportunity to open up Mimsy's came about.
Where does the name Mimsy's come from?
Mimsy's is my great grandmother.
Okay.
So Mimsy, all of the grandkids and all the kids in the family called her Mimsy as her her grandmother name. So she moved to Crockett in the early 50s, and that's sort of the rest of the family sort of followed.
See, and we're on the way up here. I asked the question. I was like, which one of them has family that's from Crockett?
Right.
Right. It has to be.
It's my mom's side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so and to our roots, go back a little, not go back further, but are a little bit deeper with my grandpa, who had the barber shop on the town square since '84, and a barber in a small town is like that's
right.
know everybody, you talk to everybody, and you make you make friends and friendships and relationships. So us coming to Crockett was like, oh, you're Jack Milne's son, the barber, or grandson. We kind of had those family connections,
those roots.
Yeah, those roots. And also, with that being said, Crockett's a very tight-knit community, and a lot of, I may get in trouble for saying this, but if you're not born in Crockett and you move to Crockett, you may always be considered an outsider.
An outsider.
Oh yeah.
You're like somebody that's not from Texas that moves to Texas.
Right.
You'll never
be a Texan.
You'll never be a Texan. Like as
I
much
hate
as
those people. They're the worst.
Yeah, especially when they come from California and
Yeah.
I was going to say Alaska, but they're pretty cool people.
Yeah. So James and I are from a really small town in Texas, about 600 people, right? So I know what growing up a small town is and whatever else. And then you're
From Marshall, it's about 25,000, so it's pretty small.
Yeah, it's 25,000, which is That's actually pretty big. But on a scale of like, what is like League City or something? One of those is like 30 or 40,000.
Our Pearland's like, I looked it up today. It's 122,000.
Oh wow.
Pearland.
Okay, yeah, it's a small town. yeah. So
We're 5,500 in Crockett.
5,500 here.
Yeah,
Nice.
almost 6,000. Yeah.
And did you used to live in Spring?
Lived in Spring for a while, so grew up in Magnolia. My wife and I graduated high school in 2003 in Magnolia. So we moved to Houston. She went to Art Institute of Houston, Culinary Arts out there. Got her degree in Culinary Arts. So we've been in
University of Houston. Go Cougs.
University of Art Institute of Houston. I didn't mean to say University. Art Institute of Houston.
Yeah. Wait,
yeah,
that's two different things.
That's two different things.
Two different things.
I said University of
I
Houston.
stand corrected.
Yeah, so do I.
No Cougs.
Down, Karen.
Go ahead, Ray.
Anyways, so we've lived in Spring, we've lived in Houston, but we're from Magnolia. And then when I was working at Fiesta's Barbecue, I was actually living in Spring, driving to Greenway Plaza every day, and that was a headache.
That's rough.
4
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning. Nobody on the road, but it's a
grind.
It's a grind.
Yeah, especially when you in Houston and this area in general. I mean, if you're doing barbecue, if you're outside doing not even just barbecue, but you're just doing work outside. I mean, it's in the I don't know if there's that. I mean, right now is like beginning summer.
Yeah.
Like it starts warming up, but it goes from this to kind of nice to 100 degrees.
Right.
And having to slave over a wood fire pit at 100 degrees, shoveling coals, moving stuff. I mean, that's a challenge. I mean, we've done cook-offs, and you've been a part of cook-offs, but just cooking here and generally, when you do something like that, it drains you.
Right.
But then you got to get up and do it all over the next day again.
Right. Yeah. Do it 60 hours a week, and it's like, oh. Yeah, I mean, it's and one of the cool things about Fiesta's is that actually that wasn't too hard being outside because it was in a food court underground. It was in a
Right.
Greenway Plaza. It was a pretty easy as far as that goes. The elements and stuff, didn't have to worry about it. But just driving in traffic on the way back, an hour or two and from work every day. That's what I was talking about was the grind part. Living in Spring and driving to Houston.
Right.
But no, out here, this pit room right here, it didn't have the screen on the front. It was walled in all the way around, and so we did our first summer like that, and it was brutal. It was 150 degrees in there for 3 or 4 months. Yeah, it was
Like suffocating.
And so when we got the new pit, we had to take the wall down and to be able to bring the pit in. And so I was like, all right, we're going to screen it in. We're not doing the completely closed pit room anymore.
Can you talk about your pits and what you're cooking?
I was about to say I didn't get a chance to see it, but I saw like a metal little plaque on the wall that said Evie May.
Yes. Yeah. So Evie Mays, if you're not familiar, they were top 50 in 2017, and now they're top 10 on the Texas Monthly list. They're a barbecue restaurant in Lubbock, Texas, Evie Mays Barbecue, and the owner, Ernest Robbins, is also a pit builder. He welds and manufactures these pits, and they build most of their own pits. So he builds the reverse flow style pit. So when I cooked at Reveille Barbecue, they had a 500-gallon reverse flow from Evie Mays. And when they asked me to come on, I'm going to be completely honest, and Arnis is going to laugh about this. When they asked me to come on to Reveille, I go, yeah, I'll come on to Reveille, but you got to get rid of that reverse flow pit because I heard nothing but bad things about reverse flows. And they're like, you're going to fall in love with it. We didn't like it at first, but you're really going to like it. I was like, no, I want a Moberg. Like that's the deal. I'll come work with y'all if y'all get a Moberg, which is a stupid thing to say. But I cooked on the Evie Mays 500-gallon for about a month, and I realized it right off the bat. It was one of the best pits I ever cooked on. You can literally cook from end to end with no issues.
That's right.
And so whenever we opened up this place, I knew that Arnis had a couple of those 1,000-gallon reverse flows sitting around, and so I reached out to him. I go, hey, for one, there was no waiting list. A lot of these builders have at least anywhere from 6 months to 2 years on standby to get a pit. And for 2, I already had, and the second reason I already had, a good year and a half, almost 2 years of cooking experience on that pit. So I knew I could, it was literally a plug and play.
Yeah.
I could get that 1,000-gallon dropped off and start cooking on it with no learning curve, like instantly. So that's why we went with the EV Maze to start off with. And within, like I said, we opened in December. And by November, we were doing a shit ton of catering that we probably shouldn't have been doing because we were, so new, just for the holidays. And I was cooking in 24-hour shifts, just, 2 or 3, I was, cooking 2 or 3 rounds a day, just to try to keep up. And so within the first couple of weeks, I was like, we're going to need another pit. And went and found the other one that we have, 1,000-gallon offset that we had built locally. I found the propane tank on Facebook for $300 in somebody's backyard. Went and picked it up, drug it over to the guy's house that was going to build it for us. And over the past year, we got that one put together. And it's basically designed after a Moberg. I call it a Fauxberg. So it's my Fauxberg offset.
Right. Trademarked.
Yeah. And the EV Maze is the reverse Flowberg. Anyways, some barbecue jokes for you. But yeah. So now I'm cooking on the offset. Like I was saying earlier, I'm cooking on the offset more because it's new. I need to figure it out. And so since we've had that for probably 3 months, and I light that fire first every day before I light the EV Maze pit. And then the EV Maze is more of the auxiliary pit for us right now, and that's nothing against them. I will say, from using both styles of pits, there's a lot more upkeep and maintenance as far as cleaning on the reverse flow because you have that solid steel plate that goes all the way across the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you have there's double racks on each door. So with that, there's the actual rails that the racks go in and out. So all that stuff takes a lot of upkeep and maintenance to keep it clean. I didn't want people go, why didn't you get another reverse flow? Why'd you get an offset and a reverse flow? And it's like obviously every pit has its advantages and disadvantages. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted an offset to be able to use it to its advantages and the reverse flow to use it to its advantages and eliminate the disadvantages of both styles of pits. That was my philosophy going into it. So far it's working out.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I mean, I know there's so much work that goes into your day, right? And could you take us through, like, what does a day look like? Like what's your busiest day of the week?
Busiest days of the week are Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
Those are 2 days we do the most sales. We're open 11 to 8 on those days. We're also open 11 to 8 on Thursdays. Not a lot of like small batch or craft barbecue restaurants are open those hours. They're typically open 11 to sell out. But we, being in a small community, we wanted to provide some more options for the people in this community for dinner and things like that. So we decided to be open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday till 8. But a typical day, try to get here at 5, get the fires lit by 5. Get the meat on by 6, and we're cooking all the smalls morning of. What I mean by that is like ribs, chicken, pork belly, sausage, things like that. All the small meats, all the large proteins like briskets, pork shoulders, beef ribs. Those are cooked the day before, held in the warmer overnight. So we're getting the smalls on, then we're getting our large proteins on for the next day. By 7 o'clock, we're typically everything that needs to be on the pit is on the pit and cruising. Around that time, the rest of the staff starts showing up, and we're lining them out as far as like sausage prep and what other prep, butchering or breaking down chickens, making barbecue sauce, making brines, checking our levels, our pars on our rubs and stuff like that. Stay pretty busy till lunchtime, and right around 11:30. We start getting pretty busy around that time, so helping out in the window, helping out on the line, bouncing back and forth. Also got to go home and let the dog out around that time, so we're bouncing, right. All these things going on. So I end my day between 3 and 4 o'clock every day. I try not to spend more than 10, 11 hours here. early in the week, but around Friday and Saturday, it's more looking like 12-hour days. But you also have to, you can't give so much every day that, you're going to get burnt out.
That's right.
So you have to and the way to prevent that is delegating responsibilities and spending time training and teaching your staff. That way, when you walk away, you can be like, all right, things are taken care of. Advice to anybody opening up a restaurant is spend as much time as you can teaching other people what you do. And if you have to be there the first year, 12, 15 hours a day, every day to make sure that's fun, to make sure that's taken care of, then that's time well invested. Because that next year you're going to be able to go do events and step away and do other things.
Right. So do you have? So let's say like the day before, right? So like today you're putting on food. Well, let's say yesterday you're putting on your large meats, your briskets, and such, and you're cooking those. Those are 10-hour cooks, 12-hour cooks, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're cooking to a doneness, right?
Right.
You have a feel for it, or whatever else. And then at that point, are you once you leave at let's say 4:00 in the afternoon or so, you have people coming in to help. They're going to wrap and butcher. Are you wrapping and butcher before that? Are you pulling things off and resting them? And
as far as the pits go, it's me and my wife on the pits.
Okay.
We're training a few other people to get more involved on that. But yeah, we'll sort of pass the baton if there's still things on the pits when I'm leaving, and that's a lot of communication involved. Say, hey, we come out to the pit room, have a meeting. This is where this is at. This is where this is at. This is where the fire's at, and sort of pass that baton if it needs to be. I'll go ahead and tell everybody right now, my wife's going to have a baby in August, and so with me and her being her and I being the only people on the pits, everybody in this restaurant's fixing to get like a crash course in barbecue, and learn how to cook barbecue at a top 50 level. We want to pass on as much knowledge as we can, have our staff as capable as possible, for anything that comes.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is it the first?
No, it's number 3.
Okay, number 3. Wow. Nice.
Number 3, yeah. 3 girls. So I have 2 daughters right now, 6 and 8, Marley and Ellie. And then we have another girl on the way in August.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Very cool.
You mentioned that your wife has some culinary training. How much input did she have on the menu? I haven't really got to look over what you guys have on there yet.
So we both have 100% input on the menu on every item, whether it's barbecue, sides, or dessert. We bounce everything off of each other. So from top to bottom, we're both hands-on on every recipe, every dish, every item. Because even if it's 100% barbecue and she shouldn't have any, or she doesn't need to have any responsibilities on that, I'm still taking that to her and bouncing it off of her and saying, hey, what do you think? Does it need more salt? Is it too sweet? Does it need more spice? Does it need more pepper? And she's the same with her stuff, with her desserts or her sides or her dishes. She brings it to me, hey, what do you think? I was like, and I'll give her my feedback. That's another dynamic that we had to conquer, was being able to be honest with each other in a work environment, and also still have a husband and wife bond, right? That relationship. So
Right.
There's times that she has to tell me very directly that I'm doing something wrong, and I have to, and what I need to do to correct it. And I have to do that. And there's times I have to do that with her. And that's that. I think it comes natural to us because we've been together for so long. But I can see how that could be challenging with and just in general. So that could be challenging.
Yeah, there's a lot of wives out there that have never been wrong before. So
right.
Yeah. They're never wrong. That's what it is.
Luckily, she doesn't listen to podcasts, so I'm good. Right?
Okay. You can say whatever you want to say, right?
Yeah.
I tell her what to do all the time.
Let's change the subject, and we're going to move past.
It was nice knowing you guys.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: what's your choice of wood?
We use post oak. That's what everybody's going to tell you, or like 90% of the people are going to tell you they use post oak. I would just say, just to be safe, it's just oak. I don't know.
Yeah,
pink
red
berry.
oak or a white oak or
Yeah, I've seen some stuff that's kind of mixed in there that looks like red, and some looks like white and live and things like that. And so, but post oak is like, I would say it's 90% post oak, and there may be a couple of other different types of oak thrown in there.
Okay.
And then we're getting the meat market open soon, and we'll be making a bunch of our own bacon and cold smoked cheeses and stuff for that side of for that side of the concept. And with that, I'll be using pecan shells soaked in water to kind of throw in to, when I need it, to impart some flavor on certain types of items that we want that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I know it's a lot of hard work to seeing this put together, but man, y'all look really put together here. It's a beautiful place y'all have here. I know it's a lot of hard work that goes into it. Did it start off this size and this building and this whatever? Have you added to this thing?
So what you see now is basically what was here. This building, these three doors, these three glass sections right here were warehouse doors that had the big door that rolled up, and they're actually still inside. We roll them down every night. This was an ice factory that my folks owned, so we had a big ice hopper in the back and ice machines, and we would bag 20, 50-pound bags of ice, 20-pound, 50-pound bags of ice, palletize it, store it in the freezer, and then distribute it to the merchandisers at local gas stations and stuff like that. So they ran that for a few years out of here, sold that business, and they put but the building stayed, and they put the building up for sale, and it was on the market for a little over a year, and they actually had a couple of offers that were like very close to signing right around the same time that we decided to open this place up. And it was one of those things that was like, all right, we have this property on the loop, 304 loop right here in Crockett. We have a very good offer on it. Do we sell it, or do we take the risk in the middle of COVID and put all our chips in on our son and daughter-in-law and open a restaurant?
Right.
Balls.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, here we are. But, like I said, we had, Kathy and I had approached our folks with several opportunities, whether it be a concept that we had a potential chance of opening in a food hall. We just needed some backers, some other ideas that fell through, and it was always like and it just was never the right time. Either we didn't have the amount of experience, it wasn't the right situation that we were trying to get involved with, our business plan wasn't right, whatever it was. It was always like, well, let's just wait, and then whenever this kind of the stars aligned, I guess everybody sort of came together and was like, all right, yeah, this is the right time to do it. And we had to move from Houston to Crockett, which is that's a pretty big life changing move. And so we did that, and we just went all in with it.
Love that.
Very freaking cool, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. And it's such a big risk, right? And not knowing, like, are we doing all this for nothing? Is this going to work? Is this going to? Here's the deal.
We didn't even know if we could be open because it was in the middle of COVID. Like, we didn't even know if people could come inside and sit down and eat.
Yeah.
Right. It was like,
right.
It was crazy.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Most people would not do what you did. Right?
I like how you're like waiting for the right time and everything to align. You're like middle of COVID.
Yeah,
let's go. Let's do it.
You know what? Let's make the worst possible thing. We'll do it then.
But it's those times. It's those times when, like, I'm not huge in the stock market or anything, but you buy low and sell high, right? And it was like that seemed like the right time when everybody was like backing out and shutting down, and it was like, all right, now is the time to strike when the iron.
Get in.
Like we felt like the iron was hot. It was like, we felt like the market was primed for us to kind of get in and do our own thing. And who's to know? Like, people are like, well, how's the pandemic affected you? I don't know. We opened right in the middle of the pandemic. Like, we have no data before that to say whether we would be. I would assume we would be better. But,
right.
I would say if you're doing good during the COVID pandemic, it should be uphill from here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's obvious logic, but we have nothing to compare it off of. We don't know.
Well, my uncle Charles McFadden lived here for a long time, and whenever we'd come up to visit him, I just remember there not really being anywhere to eat. So have the people here just been like really welcoming, like as soon as you opened?
Yep.
Yeah. Starving for something like this?
Yep. And we've had we have people that eat here 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah. Sometimes twice a day, lunch and dinner. And we get it all the time. People that either whether it's people that have lived here their whole life or people that only come in once a year to go hunting on their deer lease. They're like, we've never had anything like this. Especially the people that come in that, out of towners that come in to hunt. They're, we didn't expect this to be here. This wasn't here last year when we came in. So yeah, we've had great support. We've opened some people's eyes to some new things, as far as what we're willing to experiment with. We've brought a couple of different styles of curry to Crockett, which I don't think anybody has ever, expected to have in Crockett.
You introduce that word curry and no, I'm out.
Yeah,
nope. They're like, hey, try this right here. You don't tell them, this is amazing. I like this. You're like, that's curry.
So, and we did a Cuban sandwich a few days ago. And we did it with brisket. We called it a Texas Cuban, but it had brisket, smoked ham, pickles, Swiss cheese, mustard on a baguette, and pressed it real nice, toasted it real nice, pressed it down on a flat top. But as soon as we posted that we were having a Cuban, there was 20 people here waiting for Cuban sandwiches, and people calling in because when are you going to get a Cuban in Crockett? Who's
right?
There's things like that. We did a tonkatsu. We did our pork chop, breaded it in panko breadcrumbs, made a really nice Japanese curry. Did a tonkatsu style pork chop with the curry on top. We have a coconut curry, cream corn. That's one of our staple sides. That is probably my favorite side on the menu. It's very good. Just being able to open people's eyes, and they appreciate that, and maybe not even open their eyes, but just give people an opportunity to try things that they haven't had the opportunity to try. It's pretty neat.
Has there been anything you guys put on the menu that didn't hit well with the locals?
One of my favorite things is that we do is Boudin. We do a smoked brisket Boudin or a beef rib Boudin, depending on if we have anything in those 2 categories left over. It's really easy to chop that stuff up and throw it in a Boudin. I think our Boudin. I had one of my old chefs from a restaurant I worked at called Boudreaux's Cajun Kitchen back in 2013. I had a chef that was from Louisiana, Chef Chris, and Chefy hooked me up with a killer Boudin recipe, and we kind of tweaked it, made it our own, and I think it's the best Boudin I've ever had. It's very good. My wife doesn't even like Boudin, and she's in love with it, and. So we have a few regulars that buy the Boudin, and the rest of nobody else will touch it.
They don't want to try it, or they don't want to.
They won't try it. Yeah.
That's every time we cook. That's
Boudin.
Something that gets thrown down.
Yeah.
That's
everything. So last time we made it, not the time before last we made it, I ended up throwing away 30 pounds.
Oh my
God!
God!
You just slice it up and just hand it out. Put toothpicks and just slice it and just hand it out for free. You know what I mean?
I think you're right.
Palate going.
I think it's the liver, because people are like, what's in it? It's all right, it's pork shoulder, bell pepper, onion, yada yada yada, chicken liver,
just say it has chicken in it. Just say chicken. Yeah.
Chicken.
It's good.
I hate it if a Boudin doesn't have liver in it. It's gotta have liver.
And you can use pork liver. It's just we just use chicken liver, and because that's what I traditionally was kind of trained at the restaurant I worked at, Boudreaux's. They used chicken liver for their chicken liver and chicken, was it gizzards?
Chicken gizzards
for the dirty rice and stuff like that. So that was kind of what I was familiar with.
So if you have one, it's not obviously we're talking about the Boudin and how much you love it, whatever else. But one meat, right? And you had to turn it in. And you're like, this is the best thing I make right here. What is it for you?
That's an easy answer. The pork chop.
Pork chop.
The pork chop.
Okay.
It's by far, hands down, the best thing that we do, and the best pork chop I've ever had.
Okay. I love your answer.
I'll stand behind that.
Just because everybody wants people listening right now, and they're going to come back and go. He was going to say brisket.
Right, they're all expecting
he was going to say something to that line, and you can be like, no, the pork chop.
Yeah.
It's easy, it's done.
expand upon that even further, my opinion on the best cut of beef for barbecue, I'll give you two. The first one's beef rib. I think the beef rib, the plate rib, 3-bone plate rib is the best cut of meat. It's like it was made for barbecue. It's like God made it for barbecue.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
It's brisket on a. It's like the best part of a brisket on a stick.
Correct.
But take it up a notch. So,
Yeah.
like a Louis Mueller beef rib is, you can put that next to a plate of like a chef's tasting from Rene Redzepi at Noma in Denmark, and I would be like, they're like the same. They're both
right.
The second is pork belly. Pork belly smoked like brisket, just salt and pepper, and smoked to like 200 degrees internal temp is great. So yeah, just the best thing that we do is the pork chop, but the best thing for barbecue or for smoking or that low and slow, I would say is beef rib, plate rib.
Yeah. It's so rich, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's fatty, it's meaty. When it's cooked properly, it just falls apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every bite is so effortless to take off. Like, I mean, and a lot of people I think they have never had they call them like dino ribs, or they call them like the big beef ribs or whatever else.
Short ribs.
Yeah, if you've never had, a lot of people go like, I don't eat beef ribs, I eat these, and then all of a sudden they see one, they're like, well, I didn't know it looked like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know it could taste like that.
Ours is $40
$40
for a rib, and people were like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And it's like, they're like, one rib, $40. We're like, yeah, it's 2 pounds of meat. So.
Yeah. Not to mention, the cost of these, just your cost alone is, super expensive.
Yeah, it's double the cost of brisket.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that's the only reason I don't eat. I love beef ribs. Only reason I don't eat them all the time is just so damn expensive.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of restaurants that are just, contemplating just not putting it on the menu because they're just, it's a lot of work, and a lot of people give us grief over how much it costs, and just I'm just not going to put it on the menu. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you is in these times right now that we're going through this post-COVID, we're still going through COVID, but post-COVID, but all the
Y'all don't want to talk about COVID real quick?
Right. All the meat prices and the shortages and everything that everybody is seeing all across the United States and Texas included, not having chicken wings.
Yeah.
I'm confused because I'm like, they just stopped. Do we not have any more chickens, or why are we?
Chickens got COVID? What happened?
Right? Did chickens die off, or are we just asking for too much and nobody can keep up with the demand?
This is what I think. Okay, I think ever since the companies like International Paper got involved, and these wood prices went through the roof, and everybody was like, "Nah, you know what? You're not the only one cashing in right now, right?" These houses went up 60%. Let me tell you what this is. This is oh, you're cashing in? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna raise you this price of beef. We're going to triple it. Now we're going to cash in. Cars, yeah, 20,000 over sticker if you want it. Here it is, right? We have a chip shortage. Everything is out there. And I'm not even sure if there's really shortages. I just think people just want to make more money right now.
I think there's been bottlenecks in certain aspects of our flow. And I've heard, I can't remember the exact stat. I don't remember if it was 1 million head or 1 million pounds, but there was a large amount of beef that just went to waste this year because it couldn't even go to slaughter.
That's
and then because there either wasn't enough workers, or the restrictions during the pandemic really choked the production on a lot of things. As far as chicken wings, there wasn't a shortage of chickens. Obviously, there was a shortage of people to produce to break them down to do that. And you have one person gets sick in a plant. I'm just kind of thinking this through. Once one person gets sick in a plant, they have the obligation to kind of shut down the plant and make sure everybody's all right. And you do that in 20 plants across the United States, and next thing you know, there's a chicken wing shortage.
It doesn't take much.
Right, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
That has to be challenging for a restaurant trying to provide the items that they provide on a normally daily basis.
It's providing a price, right? So
Right.
You have a price staple, and then every day you're having to go in and adjust your price because you're like, I'm sorry, but it was $3.99 a pound, but now it's $4 $4.25 a pound.
We did 3 price changes this year.
Yeah.
All in our first year, and they all went up. And to be completely honest with you, we're at $28 a pound right now, and we did that last price change up from, I think it was either 24 or 26 a few months ago. And when I ran the numbers on it, we needed to be at $32 a pound to be, making our margins where, where we can pay our staff, we can pay our bills, we can, and have a successful business. We should be at $32 a pound, but there's no way I can justify myself buying brisket at $32 a pound, and there's no way I can expect my consumers to buy brisket at $32 a pound. So we did $28 a pound.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to break even on brisket. And brisket should be the most expensive product as far as like food, production wise in the restaurant industry. It should be expensive as, foie gras or or Kobe beef or whatever it is, because you're buying wood that's usually delivered and stacked for you, so that there comes a cost in that. You're setting it on fire, all right, so you're just burning $400 a week or to $600 a week in wood.
Yep.
Each brisket you trim off 2 or 3 pounds of meat. So at if you trim 30 briskets in a week at 3 pounds a piece, or let's say 33 briskets at 3 pounds a piece of trim, you got 100 pounds of trim at the end of that week at $28 a pound. That's $2,800 in potential revenue that you have to find something to do with. So that's you turn that into sausage, you turn it into burgers. You're doing everything you can. Your pepper is $9 a pound. The price of pepper is really expensive right now. So you're doing everything you can just to try to break even on brisket right now. And the price doesn't, we're not looking this. We don't expect to see a price break on brisket until late 2023, after July 4th and all that stuff. Because you have seasonal demands with brisket, Labor Day, Memorial Day, July 4th. That affect the market, and so we're competing with all that too. We're competing with retailers, Kroger's and HEB. They're buying tens of thousands of brisket every week, and they so they're chewing up a big part of the market. And brisket's hard to make money on.
Yeah. Are you sourcing from a local rancher?
We source from Double R Ranch. They're affiliated with Snake River Farms. So I call them the sister ranch to Snake River Farms. They basically run their Black Angus program over there.
Yep.
They're considered upper third or upper 2/3 choice, but it's a very good product. I would say Double R Ranch is the most consistent brisket out of the box, from packaging to trimming, and then the actually consistency of the marbling and all that. Double R Ranch is probably my favorite.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we have one little ranch by us, and they have Wagyu, right? It's Wagyu cattle that they're running out there. But I think is it RC Ranch? Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
They're
pretty new, and they have a storefront over there on Airline, right?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. So, and they've gotten some pretty. I mean, of course, like a lot of times when we're using something like that, we're using it for like a competition or whatever else. We're not really trying to. We don't have a restaurant or anything else, and obviously it's. You look at Killen's. Killen's. I think they were serving prime brisket out of their thing for a long time, and that is tough. Especially at the price point you're trying to buy it at, and whatever else. But I did hear that the barbecue restaurant for them is one of their most profitable restaurants they have.
Really?
Yeah. So they get their steakhouse and whatever else. So
gotcha.
And I don't know where their price points are. And I've only ate I live in Pearland. I've only eaten there a couple of times, maybe once. So
barbecue. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say with that being said, with y'all, I mean, you're in a small community, and you're really trying to get the most bang out of your buck for your barbecue and everything else. Is it a grind for you every single day? Is it something you look at? You're looking at the market every day, or you're looking at your pricing every day, or you're like, what, it is what it is.
So there's two sides of that story. You don't want to be spinning your wheels. You know, you want to be making progress you know, every week, every month, every year. You want to, you know, be improving your business model. But also at the same time in this business, you kind of have to just, you know, there's some net lead loss items that you're just going to have to kind of push out, and it is what it is. But yeah, we're constantly comparing prices, looking at different distributors, looking at the market, trying to figure out what's going to give us the best profit margin to keep this business open. We're not, and I don't want it to make it sound like we're doing this to get rich, because you know, I think barbecue is the last business or the last restaurant you would open to get rich, unless you're on the scale of somebody like Ronnie Killen, where barbecue can become extremely profitable when you get into a large scale operation, where you're cooking, you know, thousands and thousands of pounds a week and getting that out, because you can charge a premium for it, and the more you do, the less expensive it becomes to produce that amount of barbecue.
Right.
So I know, like, Ronnie has I don't know if he still does, but I'm pretty sure he does. He has a contract with NRG, and he produces all the barbecue at the Texas games and things like that.
So he does. They've got a place
I've
inside.
actually eaten it there.
They do.
Yeah. And so when you get on that sort of scale and you're doing catering and things like that, that's where the profit margins, like, you know, really jump up. The more you can do. Right. And I guess that's pretty much the same with any operation. The more you can scale and push out, the less it's going to cost you to do that.
Right. Is there, so you're repurposing, you know, so you cook, you don't sell everything that you cook, and you know, let's say you don't do it today, right? Yeah. You got leftover something. How are you repurposing that for tomorrow? Some things obviously probably like, all right, I can't repurpose this. This is not going to be good for any dish. I'm not going to serve a bad dish. Right. It's got to go. But other things, what's one big thing you try to repurpose all the time?
Our biggest thing is brisket.
Brisket?
Yeah. So we do a brisket taco and a brisket quesadilla. So every day, whatever scrap end pieces are left over with our brisket, we wrap those up, label them, put the date on them, and then just to keep track of it. And then the next day, all that stuff will get chopped down, and we put it into. We'll trim out. We'll separate the point and the flat, and then trim out that fat in between. Yep. Chop all that meat up. Put some stock in there, a bunch of spices, chili powder, cumin, salt, pepper, and then we'll braise that whole brisket thing down, cover it up in foil in a pan, and braise that down, and that gives us our taco meat for our brisket tacos and things like that. So that's one way we use we reuse our brisket. Also, we'll chop up our brisket into chunks and put it in our boudin for brisket boudin. Everything else we try to cook to the amount that we're going to sell out. So whether it's chicken or ribs, we try if we think we're only going to sell 6 racks of ribs a day, then I'll cook 5. Just to try to make sure that we're going to sell out of that stuff.
And then y'all are open every single day, or y'all?
Hopefully, I want to get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now we're Tuesday through Saturday. We're closed on Sunday and Monday. And so with the meat market, we'll talk about that. I'm sure we'll talk about that more. But with the meat market opening up, we feel like that's going to come out of the gate, open up 6 days a week. Yeah. Just be closed on Sunday or maybe Monday. But the goal is to get to a point where we're open 7 days a week. And I would like to be open the same time, the same hours every day. It gets kind of hard to tell people, what are your hours, and you have a different set of hours, for every day of the week.
Right.
It'd be nice to say we're open Tuesday, or we're open 7 days a week, 11 to 7, and just that's it. That's easy to remember. But when you tell people we're open 11 to 3 on Tuesday and Wednesday, we're open 11 to 8 on Thursday through Saturday, and we're closed Sunday and Monday. That kind of people are like, by the time you get to the end of that spiel, they're like, what? What'd you say?
What are you open? Are you open or not open?
Yeah. I showed up and you weren't open, and I'm never coming back again.
Exactly. Right. 1 star.
1 star. Horrible.
It's funny how people, and I look at these Yelp reviews and whatever else, and it's like, some people are so brutal, and you're like, first of all, you came when we were closing. Right. They don't care. It's like they're like, they were closing. They wouldn't even let me in. I'm like, yeah, because we're closing. I'm sorry, you should have got here earlier.
I ordered my meal and my drink spilled in my car.
Yeah, doesn't
hate
matter.
that place.
1 star. You're like, this is ridiculous, right?
Or the food was amazing, but the parking sucked. 1 star.
Right, 1 star. You're like, okay, well.
So we always ask on the podcast, we ask all the guests, and we do a little spot on the podcast where we're talking about barbecue fails.
That was one of them right there.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So we talk about barbecue fails.
Yeah.
Anything comes to mind. It could be restaurant related. It could be just at home or catering, just like.
Okay.
I prefer restaurant fails. That's right now. That's where we're at. Not at home.
We have a lot of backyard and competition type fails where maybe you just leave meat on the pit and you come back the next day and you're like, okay, it's done.
Well, I like that sort of stuff happens to me all the time. Just kind of like stupid, silly mistakes. I will say one time, a story I can tell y'all that's probably the most memorable in our first year was I was out. It was right in the middle of lunch, probably 11:30. I was out in the pit room cooking, and Kathy comes out to the pit room. She's like, "There's a snake in the dining room." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "There's a snake hanging from the ceiling in the dining room."
Snakes on a plane over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll show y'all when we go inside. I'll show y'all where it was at. So I was like, okay. So I walk inside the back door, come out in the dining room, and there's like a dining room full of people with their cell phones out, just like videotaping the snake, literally dangling the tail.
This is not good.
From the ceiling. So there's a couple of guys here that helped us work on the building and everything. They had ladders on their truck. So they went and got their ladders, and we bring a 30-foot ladder up to the ceiling. My stepdad climbs up there, grabs the snake by the tail, and I'm holding the ladder at the bottom. So he grabs it, and we have spray foam insulation all in the entire building. Rips it out of the insulation, out of the ceiling, and just throws it on the ground. There's like 50 people videotaping.
Heads up!
Yeah, right? And like everybody is like running and screaming.
You
And
could have held on to that thing.
it lands at my feet, and I just put my foot on its head, and they grab it, put it in a trash can, and we didn't kill it. We relocated it. But that was, I wouldn't necessarily classify that as a fail, but that was probably one of the most memorable
pretty good
experiments. That
I was half expecting you to say you had snake sausage the next day or something.
Yeah.
And that's where I got these boots.
Definitely looking on YouTube. That's got to be on there.
Yeah.
Somebody has put that up.
I'm like, this is cool until like we have Channel 5 News out here, doing a report on it.
Right.
Snake murderers.
Right. Today at a local restaurant, a snake terrorizes the entire dining room.
Right.
Oh, that's cool.
But no, it was everybody was a good sport about it. And we've told that story to a couple people, and they're like, "Oh, I'm glad I wasn't here because I would have never come back." But it was right after that freeze in February, so we think that they were just looking for somewhere to get out.
Yeah.
Like when we had that snowstorm, we think they were just looking for somewhere to get, and they got it somewhere in the ceiling. And I'll show y'all when we go in. There's a big hole in the insulation in the ceiling where he ripped it out and threw it on the floor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's good.
So you guys are opening like a little meat shop or butcher shop, you're saying?
Yep. So it's pretty much built out right now. We have the coolers in there. We have the butcher room built out. We're just working out the logistics as far as getting on how our flow of beef is going to go. The goal is by the end of this year is to take our beef, our steers off of our ranch in Crockett, take them to processing, get them slaughtered, and then bring the hanging beef or the halves back here and butcher them and for a retail format. That's the goal by the end of the year. So while that's getting set up, we're reaching out to other local farms and across Texas, sourcing their beef, and going to be bringing it in and butchering it, and we'll have basically all the steaks and everything in our merchandisers up there. We'll be making our own summer sausage, bologna, cold smoking cheeses and nuts and things like that, and basically have our own little version of a craft butcher shop, basically. Mm-hmm. So it'll be Mimsy's Meat Market and Spice Company. We'll have all of our spices, rubs, seasonings, sauces, all that stuff will be in retail format up there.
Now, is it going to be available locally only, or can people order it and get shipped to them?
So there's two avenues we're looking at right now, and it's based all on like availability and how fast we can get a spot at the slaughterhouse. But if USDA can be shipped nationwide as far as steaks and stuff like that, or raw meat, I would love that to be the first option. If we can't get a slot at a USDA processing plant, we'll have to go to the Texas stamp, and Texas stamp is intrastate only. So we'll until we can get the USDA, we'll be only able to ship with inside the Texas with the beef and stuff like that. But as far as the spices and the sauces and everything else like that, we'll be shipping out everywhere.
I think we'll be your first customers.
Right. If you want to just swing by the house or something.
And I actually have some samples for you guys to take with you. So,
Okay.
Oh, cool things.
Yeah. We'll have our brisket rub, our rib rub, our chip and steak seasoning. It's actually the same. We make our own potato chips, and then Kathy was like, "Why don't you try that seasoning on the steaks? I think it'd be really good." Tried it on the steaks, and it's fucking killer. We have our bean seasoning, our sausage mix, our jerk chicken. All of that will be packaged in retail format. So then we have our rib syrup, sweet chili garlic sauce, sweet and sassy sauce, which is like a honey mustard, and our barbecue sauce.
And when were you expecting that to go live?
Hopefully by the end of the March it'll be live. We should be receiving our barbecue sauce sample today in the mail from our manufacturer. I've gotten a couple of other samples back, so hopefully by the end of March we'll be ready to go with that.
Nice. All right.
That's awesome.
Hey, Wade, I definitely appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come out here and just talk a little barbecue with you. We certainly wish you the best of luck, and we're excited to try a little bit of this barbecue coming up here in a little bit. We usually just open it up to the guests to let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, where you guys are located, and we'll go from there.
Yep, so the address is 1979 South 5th Street, Crockett, Texas. Go ahead and give you the hours. We're Tuesday and Wednesday, 11 to 3, Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 8, closed Sunday and Monday. The phone number is 936-544-7000. We're pretty active on TikTok, Mimsy's Craft Barbecue, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So please give us a follow on that. We got some events coming up. March 19th, we'll be out at the Indian Springs Ranch for the Come and Smoke It event. May 7th, we'll be at Red Dirt Festival in Tyler, Texas. So if you can get an opportunity to get some tickets to that stuff, come see us and see what we got going on.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey, everybody go over there and slide out and check them out.
Awesome. I mean, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Guys, thank you all so much. It's really an honor to have y'all out, and we really appreciate the opportunity to let people know about what we're doing out here. So thank you all so much.
Our pleasure.
Dang it, Bobby. Just grab the brisket. We'd like to give a special thanks to Sucklebusters Barbecue Rubs and Sauces, Bolner's Fiesta Spices, CoolieNation Custom Koozies, Cambro Manufacturing, YETI Coolers, the Smoke Sheep Barbecue Newsletter, and Dalstrong Knives. We definitely appreciate your support.